representing the Tea Party.
Representing the Tea Party. Judd asked for an extremely modest introduction. Here it is. Widely published, award-winning journalist and critic, editor-at-large, Art+Auction magazine. What I will add to that is that Judd Tully, probably for the last 20 or 25 years, has been the man that everybody in the art world is the go-to guy for what's really going on at the art auctions, behind the scenes, and what's happening with things that may or may not sell. Judd is a very important person in the art world. And to my immediate right is Charlie Scheips. Charlie is a force of nature. Charlie is a freelance curator, art advisor, writer, and cultural historian in New York City, president of Umbrella Art Management. And one of the things he did for about 10 years, which is of note, particularly in this context, is that Charlie was the first director of the Carnegie Nast Photography Archive. And I'm sure you'll hear more about both of these gentlemen.
Where Andy got his first job.
Where Andy got his first job. Just as a reality check, Andy Warhol was born in 1928. Were he alive today, he would be 84 years old. So think about that while we're talking about how this man, along with Picasso, has basically dominated the art auction world probably for the last, certainly a solid 10 years, if not more. John, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does seem rather amazing that one artist could contribute so much in terms of just sheer commercial value to the auction market. I mean, really on the same level probably, depending on the season and how many works are offered, as to, say, Picasso. Although now, recently, another artist who I'm not going to talk about, but Gerhard Richter is sort of getting into that territory. But still, one of the things that I've always found so interesting, I don't know why, it really doesn't really matter, but in terms of in the art market, how prices go up or down, or some people never even in the art market. But Warhol particularly, when he died in 1987, and he was, I think, either 57 or 58, after brief illness, whatever, his career was really in the gutter. I mean, he was not, famous long ago would be more his sort of existence, and in fact, for a long time, he really survived on doing these commissioned portraits based on Polaroid that he would usually take of the person. So say someone wanted a portrait of their wife, $25,000 a shot, Warhol would produce a portrait. He did hundreds of them. And there was, I was looking through this, this was from Art Basel a number of years ago, for Tony Shafrazi, who was big in the downtown Soho pop art movement. He's still around and a gallerist. Brought out a lot of these portraits, and on another level, the thing that I thought was extraordinary was that Warhol also did the late and not great Shah of Iran, who also died in the same hospital that Warhol died in, of another illness, whatever, and his wife. Anyway, he did Mao portraits, he did hammer and sickle images, he did dollar signs, talking about Warhol. And all at a time in the 70s forward, after he was shot and almost died. And really the market was not interested in him. He could barely get a show in Leo Castelli, who also, interestingly, in the early 60s was not keen on Warhol, didn't want to bring him into the gallery because of Roy Lichtenstein and thought their work was too similar, and it was really the efforts of different people like Elion Sonnabend, who really saw Warhol's genius early on, and Walter Hopps, a curator, gallery director in LA, at the Ferris Gallery, where Warhol had his first major show, those Campbell's, anyway, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just going to give you a few examples of rocketing prices. This is a catalog from Sotheby's catalog, May 1993, in New York. 10 paintings by Andy Warhol from the collection of Frederick W. Hughes. Now, Frederick Hughes was Warhol's business manager, long, long time, you know, major domo. And, you know, illness, this and that, this and that. So out of these 10 paintings, and this still kills me. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but out of the 10 paintings, only 2 sold. This cover lot, which is called, I think it's called Old Telephone or something, which is considered hand-painted pop, where it's still, you can see the brush strokes, it was sort of still in the style of abstract expressionism. That sold for $552,500. That was the top price in the auction. The only other painting that sold was a portrait of Princess Diana, which was not based on a Polaroid, but was like a formal, you know, Buckingham Palace type publicity photo that he did. And that sold for $57,500. And this very painting is coming up this June in Phillips in London, where the estimate is £1 to 1.5 million pounds. But again, it's, you know, the Olympics, Princess Diana, London, etc. But that is really just shows how there was a car crash painting. There were many works that were just, the market didn't accept them, either because of Hughes, whatever. And I'm going to finish up in a second, or in a minute. But just to give you examples of these early paintings from the 1960s that Warhol, when he first came onto the scene and made so-called mature paintings, they are just, you know, they soar. The top price for Warhol at auction is something called Green Car Crash, or Green Burning Car number 1 from 1963. And it's 90 inches by 80. And that made $71.7 million back in 2007 in May at Christie's. Now another painting, Men in Her Life, which was about Liz Taylor, because again, Warhol, movie stars, actresses, disaster paintings, and she really covers all of those things. This painting sold at Phillips of Paris in November 2010 for $63.3 million. Now, back at Christie's, New York, in May 1989, which was at a time when the art market was booming, the same painting came up for sale and sold for $286,000. So it's doing better than Facebook. And I'll give you one other example. And just, again, to realize that during Warhol's life, at the end of his life, and he was doing important paintings, self-portraits, Last Suppers, shadow paintings, etc. This other painting called 201 dollar bills from 1962, that came up at Sotheby's in November 2009, and it made $43.7 million. And this was at a time when the art market was still feeling the effects of the burnout, the Lehman, the crash of September 2008. So it was an extraordinary price. And the woman who put it up for sale that evening had bought it at Sotheby's, New York in 1986, just a few months, 3 months, I think, before Warhol died. So it was still, you know, the work of the living artist for $385,000. So, you know, buy and hold is the way to go sometimes. Anyway, I just want to point out one more thing, and then I'll switch it over, and there can be, you know, whatever questions later, is that even Warhol's market now, which is really, you know, more or less, it's like gold, or well, maybe gold is a bit down now, but his paintings contributed a huge percentage of the, you know, global art activity. And it's a remarkable accomplishment for someone.